My hat! Alright, so this is going to be a size comparison. So in the middle, the blue, this is an MT410 by Tekno. On each side is a Tekno SCT410.3. So both this one and that one, they're the same chassis, just different tires. That one has 2.8s. This one has just short course wheels. This one has 3.8s. Those things are massive. They're some of the biggest 3.8s that I have seen. So I will do a quick size comparison, maybe not so quick, we'll see. So let me go ahead and remove the body. So one of the things from here is the wheelbase is pretty much the same. Very, very similar. So if we line this up right about there, that's about centered. And it's pretty close. If I were to take this, don't tell my wife I'm not wearing my ring. If I were to take this and just flip it over just so you could see the chassis, and then take this one and flip it over. The chassis here, these are interchangeable. So you can actually interchange this. So this whole centerpiece right in here, this is interchangeable between the two. So really the difference between the MT, which is this one right over here, and the short course, it's really the arms. That's the main difference. Now you do get some other differences too, of course, but the main thing would be the arms, the length of the arms. The shocks are different as well, so the dampers are much longer on this one. I'm not sure if there's a width difference. That's mainly because I have not measured yet. But let's see, I'm just going to do just a quick little measurement. Alright, so it's about 19. And if I were to measure this one somewhere around there, okay, so there is a difference here. This one's a little smaller. So the shocks are bigger on the MT. They're much longer as well. If you look at those versus these, I mean, there's a major difference in the length of the shocks. This is the other one. This one has full droop as opposed to the other one. So if you look at this one versus this one, there's a big difference. So if you're planning on bashing, this is going to be the one to go because it has more suspension travel, therefore it's going to be able to dampen a lot better. So definitely the MT would be a better choice. Now, if you have an SCT, doesn't matter which one, and you were thinking of maybe converting it to an MT, don't bother. Just buy an MT. You can sell your short course in that case. And the reason why is because there's a lot of differences between them. The shock towers are different, so you're going to need new shock towers. You're going to need the new dampers because these are much longer. You will be needing the arms. The arms are massive. Let's see if I can show them both next to each other. Here. See this one here. So if you see the size difference here versus this over here, these are just wider, longer. If you look at the view here versus the view over here, that extra material, it's also thicker. You see the extra mounting holes for the shocks versus over here you just get the two. I mean, they're not thick enough to fit the other ones. So there's a few other differences. These obviously have the 17mm hubs versus these just have the regular ones. The sway bars are also quite large out of the box. For the MT, you can get similar large sway bars for these, but there is no comparison really. The other thing too is if you look at the turnbuckles, if we look at these, we're looking at about 3 millimeters. If you look at these, we're looking at 4.5, well 4.6, say 4.5. Yeah, 4.5. So it'll be about 4.5 millimeters. So you're getting much bigger turnbuckles Even the steering, if you look at the steering tends to be thinner. You're looking at 3 millimeters for the steering, about 3.5. So everything that involves the suspension portion of the MT is just simply better built because the MT is made for bashing. Now everything inside is the same layout. You have the same type of transmission here in the center compared to the short course. Receiver box is the same. That is the same. Body clips are the same. The body mounting system is the same. The difference is the shock towers. So that's the reason why I would not recommend converting an SCT 410.3 over to an MT. The amount of parts that you would have to buy, it would not be worth it unless somebody just gave you an SCT 410, but at that point you're probably better off selling your short course and just putting that money into an MT if you look at the difference, and then you would just get new bearings, new everything, if you think about it that way. But the bumpers are the same, front and rear bumpers are the same, but there is a width difference. So if I were to take this one over here, it's a massive difference. Now you could say, well, it's because the tires are huge. That is true, but the offset, the actual hub is right about here. So it's right about there. So if you got some tires, Proline for example has some tires with the adapters, you can extend these things would be wide as can be. So here you're looking at the center line right about there. So even if we did that and place this truck at a similar position, right, to where the face of the hub would be, we're looking at the face right here. We still have this whole other section over here, which is a very large difference. I'm not going to try to measure precisely, but if we look at here, it's going to be at least 10 centimeters, right? This is 100 millimeters right about there where my pinky is. So it's over 10 centimeter difference between the two. Even with this other one over here, this one I put Proline 2.8 tires. These are the, I believe, the Badlands. Notice there's a width difference between these two. All right, well now I'm going to grab this one. I'm going to put it next to this one. And I'm going to try to go to the center line of the hub. Well, right here, face of the hub. So it'd be right about there. So look at the difference between the two. It is massive. The difference is massive between the two trucks. And I almost feel like I should put this one right next to it. So here we have the Tekno MT410, and both of these are SCT 410.3s. The only difference is this one here is running Proline 2.8s. Like I said, I think of Badlands. They're the belted tires, because this thing needs belted tires. That one will probably need belted tires as well, but it'll be fun to see how it floors those things up. Now, just for another comparison, there's my Revo 3.3. So there's my Revo. We can compare the two. So the wheelbase, it appears the Revo has a slightly longer wheelbase. Now keep in mind that when I built this one, I went with the longer wheelbase option because they just wheelie too easy. But here you can see this one is a little longer. The tires are bigger, but that's just brand. I mean, I could put those tires on this one over here. The Duratrax, just massive tires. They're really, really soft too. So these tires, after I wear these out, maybe I should get some of those for this one. But if we look at the suspension, and the reason why I know this is nitro, so it's not a fair one-to-one because there is no nitro option for the Tekno, unless you have the nitro truggy, which is the 48.3 or 48.4, 48.3 I think, but I think it was just discontinued. You could convert that into something like that. I mean, it's same basic thing. You just add the bumpers really, and then the mounting system for the body. So that would actually be a good conversion. But the reason why I want to show this is to compare the suspension. One of the things with this Revo is, I've already broken one of these because you hit something, this thing's gonna break. It's just going to break. It's not very expensive though. I don't remember how much a set is. Say you're looking at $7, maybe $10, so you'll replace it. But anyway, you hit anything, this will bend or break, and it doesn't matter if it bends or breaks, you have to replace it. The shocks are quite small. I mean, the bodies on them, these GTR, I love them for slashes, but for something this big, they're kind of small. Now this measurement's not going to be the most accurate. I'm just going for a ballpark. Oh, it would help if it was on. Yeah, let's see. Reason why is I don't think I can really get the body only. Well, here, it's a little crooked, so it's going to make it seem as if it were a little larger than it truly is. Let's see, 16 and a half roughly, versus these, which were almost 19. So there's a big difference, not to mention too the length of the body itself. Let's see, so if I go here, I'm just going to measure from the cap to the bottom. I think 35, because I'm looking for the difference really. 3564. I have to actually remember where this is because it has the boot. That's the other nice thing about the Tekno ones. They come with the rubber boots. Really protects the shaft from dirt. Right, so we're looking at 54 over 54. So there is a big difference between them. Now something else here is you really need really thick, strong springs. So you need heavy springs. I'm actually going to put the rears at some point in the front, and I'm replacing the rears. I already picked some up. But the reason why is if you look at this lever arm is twice as big as that one. The other thing too is these aren't really that strong. They do great. This is a good truck for just kind of racing in dirt. Really super high jumps, not so much. Those tend to break. Versus these, notice that the arm's going to take some of the impact. And these are massive, robust arms if you hit this. So the shock's not going to be the first thing to take the impact. Over here it's going to be this arm, so I guess it's not the shock, but still, you break this and you have no suspension on this side. If you look at the arms too, look at the thicknesses of the arms. Just for this, I'll go ahead and turn this upside down, right? You do have double arms, but they're still quite thin. And the reason why I'm making this comparison is I know this is not the electric version, but the electric version has a similar suspension. That's the reason why. I don't have an electric handy at the moment. At some point I could, but I mean, just look at the difference in the material of the arm. So all of this is hinged versus over here you just have a portion there and a portion here. And then over here it's just this little section right here that is hinged versus over here you have those two hinge points. Front and back. So there is a massive difference between the two trucks here. So just as a size comparison, this MT410, actually I like just hearing it as it drops. This is a great option for bashing if you're planning on doing electric, but keep something in mind. This is mainly a size comparison. I'm not trying to convince you to buy an MT over a Revo. I do love my Revo 3.3 because it's nitro. If they made an MT nitro version, I would probably be looking at that. But then again, you have to keep in mind you're looking at about $500 versus, I mean, $450 for just the kit without electronics or anything. So there's going to be a big difference there. And here are the little ones. So again, let me just put one of these side by side so you can get an idea. And if we just do top view, you can see the size difference between, once again, short course 410, this is SCT410.3, MT410, and this is a Traxxas Revo 3.3. Again, it's just the comparison size and suspension. So if you are looking into getting a basher electric, I would steer you to the MT410. The components are simply more robust. This has been my basher so far. I love it. It takes a beating, but should have gone with that initially. This is a great race truck. That's the basher that you want. It just, again, the components are more robust. You saw the measurements for the turnbuckles and the dampers on both of them, and the arms. There's just no comparison when it comes to the arms. So other than that, I hope this size comparison video helps. Please share your points of view. If you have any of these vehicles, or if you've had multiple of these vehicles, what do you think? Just write in the comments. Well, that being said, thank you so much for watching.